Right now, the Denver Broncos have a massive issue that the team must clean up if they have any hope at being competitive this coming season. So, last year, under Nathaniel Hackett, the Denver Broncos, as Sean Payton very glaringly said in his USA Today interview, were the 29th ranked team in pre snap penalties. One of the main reasons why the Denver Broncos struggled so much on offense last year is because they kept finding themselves in long yardage situations. And one of the biggest contributors to them being in long yardage situations was that they were 29th in the league in pre-snap penalties last year. And that is something that is absolutely inexcusable. A good chunk of these pre-snap penalties were false starts. Now, some of them, of course, were also like illegal motions, illegal shifts, those kind of penalties, but most of the pre-snap penalties for the Denver Broncos last year were false starts on the offense. And those can be boiled down to one thing, and that's a lack of discipline. Sean Payton has been really trying to test his players here in training camp the past few days and trying to get them to avoid these false start penalties. And so far, it's kind of gone up and down. So the Denver Broncos, for the first part of camp, I felt like did a really good job, and they didn't have so many false start penalties. But the reason that I feel like that wasn't the case is because the quarterbacks weren't really mixing up their snap counts and their cadences very much. They were going on basically the same cadence to try to get the offensive line comfortable with their voice inflection and whatnot, because this year Sean Payton is using a different cadence. Russell Wilson will be using a different snap count than one he's used throughout his entire career, and a different one than he used last year here in Denver. So that's something that the offensive line is going to have to get used to, because Sean Payton's offense has multiple different cadences. Throughout the first couple of days, things went pretty smoothly, again because Sean Payton wasn't really tapping into his pretty extended playbook of just snap counts and cadences. But over the course of the last few days, we've seen our three quarterbacks, Wilson, Stidham, and DiNucci, all start to use a lot more different cadences. A lot of hard counts where they're going on two. So Blue 80 said hot, hot on two, or sometimes they'll even go on three huts. Also, they'll use a dummy cadence. Ready, Blue 80, Mike's 54. Ready, Blue 80 said hot. So that's one way that they've sort of mixed up their snap counts. And the reason that they're doing this is to try to keep the offensive linemen on their toes, and also try to keep the defensive line on their toes as well. Just keep the whole team disciplined and watch the ball. Don't listen to the cadence. Don't listen to the snap count. And that's sometimes harder for offensive linemen to do, but we have seen offensive linemen be able to do it. One guy who's a master at watching the ball is Packers left tackle David Bakhtiari. Watch him. He's not listening to the quarterback snap count, because for all those years he had to deal with Aaron Rodgers, who had all kinds of different cadences and snap counts that he used. So that's one reason why David Bakhtiari was a master at looking at the ball. And that's something that our offensive linemen are going to have to master, rather than listen to the quarterback's snap counts and voice inflections, because we're really trying to mix that up with all these different ones that Sean Payton has. So that's caused some confusion at Denver Broncos training camp. We've seen players such as Garrett Bowles and Mike McGlinchey have multiple false start penalties. Last year, if we come over here and look at this graph, the Denver Broncos were tied with the third most false start penalties last year in the league with 23. That is inexcusable. You can't do that. We lost 115 yards of offense just on pre-snap false start penalties alone. So you're going to know that Sean Payton is going to continue to mix up these cadences and the snap counts from his quarterbacks to try to make sure that the offensive linemen stay disciplined. And if the Denver Broncos don't clean that up, and we continue to see these pre-snap penalties and these false start penalties in particular, the team is going to have some more issues trying to move the ball, because they're constantly going to be in first and long, second and long, and God forbid third and long. And when you're in third and long in the NFL, odds are good you're not going to recover from that on a consistent basis. And that was one of the biggest issues for the Denver Broncos offense last year, is they were always in third and long. And part of that was because they were 29th in the NFL in pre-snap penalties. So again, guys, Sean Payton is going to make sure that this doesn't happen again. When you look at historically his Saints teams, they were towards the bottom in the NFL in false start penalties. And that's because Drew Brees and Sean Payton would always make sure that offensive linemen were on their toes and that they were familiar with all the different cadences that they used. And also, look at the damn ball. Don't listen to the quarterback's cadence. It's really something that a lot of offensive linemen struggle to do, and that's why you see a lot of these false start penalties. But again, Sean Payton, that's something he's not going to stand for. All right, Broncos country, how much of an emphasis do you think Sean Payton needs to put on cleaning up these pre-snap penalties this year? Drop those comments down below, guys. I would love to hear your thoughts on this, as always. Be sure to leave a like on this video, as well as subscribe and ring the bell so these videos appear in your notification feed. I would really appreciate it, guys. Those are 2 free and easy ways to show your support. It helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out and helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country, just like you and me. And until next time, guys, this has been another episode of Denver Broncos Syndicate. I am your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.